Queen City News covering every angle of the aftermath of last night's tornado, and we start with meteorologist Elisa Raffa.
So, Elisa, that tour of the damage took you to Davidson.
Yes, I've been with the National Weather Service all day surveying the damage, and I lost count of the trees that were shredded, uprooted, snapped. I mean, you can see the countless branches here. An entire trunk is snapped and laying here on the ground. You can see the tree behind me just cut in half, shredded by winds the National Weather Service estimates for 70 to 80 miles per hour. And then that home behind me has a tarp on the roof because a tree punctured the roof and landed on their little girl's bed. I got chills. They were incredibly grateful that their daughter was not in her bedroom. You have tree trunks that have punctured their porch, their fence, all in their yard there. So the tree damage here around Davidson, there's plenty of it, up and down multiple blocks, trees snapped, uprooted. The homeowners here tell me that they're just incredibly grateful that they heeded the warnings, and these storms came in incredibly fast. We were looking at these forward speeds of the storms last night, 50, 60 miles per hour, and they said it just came in with a flash, and then they started to hear all of those trees topple. Take a listen.
My husband and daughters and I took cover in a little hallway on the first floor that doesn't have any windows because it did feel like the noise got a lot heavier outside. There's just a certain wind shift that was a little bit scary, and then we just started hearing lots of pretty shocking crashes and cracks.
Now, our first stop this morning was in northern Mecklenburg County, where that EF0 tornado was confirmed, a high-end EF0 with 85-mile-per-hour winds. It had a path length of about 2 miles. It started near Lowesville and then ended near Huntersville. Many trees uprooted there, but thankfully nobody was injured. Back here in Davidson, I don't know if you probably can hear it. It got pretty loud behind me because these crews are trying to get these trees and these branches out of this home. These crews have been busy here all day. Another truck just pulling up now to try to evict these trees from this home. Again, thankfully here, no one was injured, and they are incredibly grateful that they heeded those warnings. Coming up tonight at 5, we'll hear more from the National Weather Service on why these surveys are so important. For now, reporting live in Davidson, meteorologist Elisa Raffa, Queen City News.
Yeah, all those down trees really telling the story of just how quickly that storm popped up and how quickly it went. Elisa, thank you.
Back here at home, meteorologist Elisa Raffa has been following the National Weather Service as they survey the damage all day today. Elisa, that tour of the damage took you to Davidson.
Yes, we came to Davidson with the National Weather Service because the fire department wanted the Weather Service to check out some damage here. They have blocks of wind damage, trees all over the ground here, totally snapped in half, big trunks of them too. We have one big tree here that is on a roof, the gutter smashed, another home with about at least 3 trees that pierced their homes in different sections, a porch, a fence, and even landing on a little girl's bed. Now, we started our morning near Huntersville in the Mountain Island Lake area. That's where the Weather Service confirmed an EF0 tornado while we were there. It had some 85-mile-per-hour winds, which is a high-end EF0. It was on the ground for about 2 miles and ended in the Huntersville area. Now, what the Weather Service was looking for was how the trees kind of toppled. In which direction did they fall? And that can help them determine if the winds were either straight or rotating. But the Weather Service tells us today, I mean, it doesn't really matter which way the winds are blowing. The damage can still be significant if it's your home. Here's Trisha Palmer with the National Weather Service.
We come out here for our historical database. We need to know, like for our warning verification, was it a tornado? Was it straight line winds? Because we report to Congress on how we perform. But in the end, for the folks who are impacted, what we want people to understand is, whether the wind is straight or whether the wind is in circles, whether a tree falls on your house, it's a very, very, very bad day.
It was a bad day for a lot of families, really just cleaning up, but thankfully no one injured. You're looking at video from Davidson where there have been trees toppled, snapped, uprooted, again, in this long stretch now. There, the National Weather Service determined that the winds were up to 75, maybe 80 miles per hour, but straight line wind damage. And again, the trees just everywhere. You're looking at a home that had trees pierce the porch, the roof. You could see there's a tarp on the top of the roof there, and that's where the tree kind of pierced into the roof and landed on a little girl's bed. And the family tells me they're incredibly grateful that they were able to heed the warnings. The storms came in pretty quickly, and they're grateful that they were able to get into an interior room with no windows. Now, it doesn't stop here. The National Weather Service continued their trek up to Mooresville to determine if a tornado touched down there, because damage in Mooresville was pretty extensive. So hopefully we'll know this evening what determined that damage there, if it was a tornado or if it was that straight line wind damage. But at least, Tara, so far today we do have that one tornado that was confirmed.
Yes, and of course those severe thunderstorm warnings, tornado warnings were in effect at the time, and it's good to hear that people were heeding the warnings. And we always say we need to take those even severe thunderstorm warnings seriously.
Severe storms hit several counties in North and South Carolina. Multiple trees fell, causing widespread power outages. Meteorologist Elisa Raffa has been following the National Weather Service all day today as they survey all that damage. And Elisa, that tour of the damage, it took you to Davidson.
Yes, we hit multiple spots this morning, and the National Weather Service came to Davidson actually because the fire department here called them and said, hey, we have pretty widespread tree damage here. Can you guys come take a look? I mean, you can see all of these branches that are down here. This is a massive trunk. It's not even a branch. This is half of the tree, because if you look up, you can see where it snapped in half from winds that the Weather Service estimates were 70 to 80 miles per hour. Straight line winds, no rotation in this place. And we also had trees puncture homes behind me. Or if you can see that tarp on the roof, I mean, a tree went straight through that roof and landed on a little girl's bed. Thankfully, no one injured there. But taking a look at some of the footage from today of this video where we've had trees down all over the place here in Davidson, multiple trees down, some power lines too. Again, the Weather Service estimates that this was from straight line wind damage of about 70 to 80 miles per hour. Homeowners here tell me that the storms came in so fast, it just felt and sounded different, and they exited quickly too, and they were incredibly grateful that they heeded those warnings. Take a listen.
It was extremely quick. It went from a kind of normal rainstorm to clearly not normal, and then was normal again within a minute. It was really terrifying. I mean, I've lived here 20 years, and there's always tornado warnings and such, and I can't say that I'm always as attentive to them as I maybe should be, so I was really, really grateful.
Our first stop this morning took us to near Huntersville, kind of in between Mountain Island Lake and Huntersville, northern Mecklenburg County, and that's where the National Weather Service confirmed an EF0 tornado, a high-end EF0 at 85 mile per hour winds on the ground for about 2 miles, and it ended in the Huntersville area. That also uprooted plenty of trees that the Weather Service this morning was kind of trying to determine how those trees fell, right, and in which direction did they fall, and did they fall across from each other, into each other, and that determines if it was straight line winds or if it was a tornado. Now, the Weather Service does this to keep their historical context, so we can verify when we do have warnings, because they do have to report to Congress, when they issue warnings, what actually happened. So they're still out here this evening. They actually had to head into Iredell County, into Mooresville, where they're still investigating to see if a tornado touched down there. Tara, we know that it could take them days, because we've had almost 200 storm reports from that line that came through yesterday.
Yes, I mean, a record amount really of storm reports here for this type of system. And Elisa, I know, great reporting out there and just showing the widespread damage.